Again tonight with the COVID surge and the Delta variant fueling an alarming rise in cases. The country now seeing 4 straight days of more than 100,000 new infections. Florida leading the U.S. in hospitalizations, emergency rooms filling up. Some facilities in Jacksonville opening so-called expansion units, desperate for more space. For the growing numbers of patients there, nearly all unvaccinated, healthcare professionals nationwide urging people still on the fence to get their shots. And many appear to be hearing that call. The number of doses administered up 25% this week. States with the highest case numbers seeing the biggest increase in vaccinations. More than 68% of Americans 12 and older now with at least one shot. Just over 50% of all Americans fully vaccinated. In a moment, I'll speak with a doctor in Florida who treats COVID patients and studies the virus about her biggest fear in this summer surge. But first, ABC's Janae Norman leads us off from New York.
Tonight, with the U.S. reporting its 4th straight day of over 100,000 new COVID cases, experts warning some hospitals are on the verge of collapse.
And by collapse, I mean they will be full. Their ICUs and their hospitals, they will be turning away patients.
Florida currently leading the country in hospitalizations. The state's hospital association predicting 6 in 10 medical centers will face critical staffing shortages in the next week.
We're bringing in additional staff, additional physicians, opening up nooks and crannies, if you will, in the emergency rooms to find places to see patients. We're treating patients in conference rooms, literally doing everything we can to try to accommodate that volume.
That state reporting more than 130,000 new infections over the last week, driven mostly by the Delta variant. And it's not just Florida. COVID tearing through unvaccinated communities. Across the U.S., the average number of hospital admissions up by more than 40% in the last week. Healthcare workers stretched thin in Louisiana, reporting the highest case rate in the country. The positivity rate there now over 15%, the highest since the start of the pandemic.
We continue to not yet see any tangible signs that we are turning a corner, and that, quite frankly, is terrifying.
In Virginia, Travis Campbell struggling to breathe from his hospital bed.
It's just like a fish out of water. You're going to suffocate, and it's miserable.
He's urging others to get vaccinated. That message may be getting through. Tonight, all 50 states now reporting more residents getting their first dose. But for this Texas family, that message was too late. Lawrence Rodriguez, a father of 4, died after a weeks-long battle with the virus. His wife, Lydia, is still on a ventilator in the ICU.
When she was in the intensive care unit before she went on the ventilator, she had asked the doctor if she could get vaccinated then, and he told her it was too late. One of the last things she said was to please make sure her children were vaccinated.
And we continue to hear those pleas from family members. Janae Norman joining us now from New York City. And Janae, we've talked so much about the Delta variant, but there's another variant health experts are also tracking tonight.
Yeah, it's the Lambda variant that's already out there. It's not new. It was first detected in South America last year. The CDC calling it a variant of interest, which means they're watching it. At this point, it is not considered a variant of concern, but there is a risk that Lambda may end up being a more resilient variant.
Janae, thank you. For more on all of this, let's bring in Dr. Eileen Marty, Distinguished University Professor of Infectious Diseases from Florida International University. Dr. Marty, thank you so much for joining us. So we just heard in Janae's report there, your state of Florida is seeing a real surge in new COVID cases, 134,000 just this past week. Hospitalizations are the highest in the country. We're getting reports of ICUs again running out of space. You treat COVID patients yourself. How would you describe the situation on the ground in Florida?
It's absolutely heartbreaking, and it's particularly heartbreaking because so many of the patients are younger individuals, and in particular, it's the children that are overwhelming our children's hospitals that's particularly heartbreaking, and it's just exhausting. Our staff, nurses, doctors, technicians, everyone is exhausted.
And the cases with children especially troubling as the school year is getting underway. But it's not just Florida. We're seeing cases rise across the country. The Delta variant has really changed the course of this pandemic. You also study the COVID-19 virus in the lab. What's your biggest fear right now?
My biggest fear is that we'll have a variant of high consequence, which is one that's worse than the Delta variant, which is already horrible, one that would actually overcome the vaccines and the types of treatments that are effective right now. Particularly concerned about losing the effect of monoclonal antibodies that we're using, not just in adults, but in children that need it as well.
All adding to the urgency in this race to vaccinate. Dr. Marty, thank you for your time tonight. We do appreciate it.